Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Channel. Get ready to take flight because today we are soaring to Arizona and hanging with the Cardinals. Grab your shades, a cold drink. Let's head to the desert. Adam, what's up? How you doing?
Doing wonderful, man. How you doing today?
I am doing great. How you doing?
Couldn't get any better. Let's fucking dive in here. Here we go. Today we are breaking down into our new segment, Opening Bell. NFL news after that, diving deep into the dry land of Arizona and all their fantasy relevant players. And after that, we're going to do our coaching breakdown and our offensive line analysis for y'all. So grab yourself a White Russian, a Moscow Mule, or a Tequila Sunrise, and let's cook, baby.
Ooh, I'll take a
First,
tequila sunrise. That sounds good.
it's been hot and steamy. I could go for about 17 of those right
Ooh,
now.
might be a little much. I'll take one.
Oh, that's the difference between us some days. Opening bell, folks. The opening bell fight round. This is our new segment. What we're going to do is we're going to discuss two players that are very similar in ADP right next to each other. And then we're going to have to choose one or the other and discuss, argue, fight, claw, and get on after it. I'm going to start us off here. We are going, the first round is Jameson Williams, ADP 78 versus Rome Odunze, ADP 79. Ding, ding, baby. I'm leading into it here. Jameson Williams, in my opinion, is much faster, better offense, better QB, and more proven. One of my favorite stats about this guy is he only had 58 catches last year, and the dude had over 1,000 yards, 1,001 to be exact. Even better, his yards per catch is 17 yards per catch. That is insane big play potential. At any point in time when you're watching this guy, the dude can bust a big one. 24 years old, headed into his fourth season. I like him a lot better than Odunze. Kyle, you're back.
All right, I will give you the take for Rome Dunze over him. I'm going to start off with the big one, in my opinion, is offensive coordinator last year for Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson, is in Chicago. That's right. A very intelligent offensive mind. And Rome Odunze, year two guy, same quarterback that had a really bad offensive line last year. And you vacate Keenan Allen with a lot of targets and a lot of targets in the red zone. And I am rising on a year two breakout for Rome Odunze.
Okay, interesting. I guess one more point I'm going to make about JMO is even behind Gibbs and Montgomery, their two running backs, the dude still got 11 rushes and one rushing TD for 61 yards, which just goes to show they want to get the ball in his hands so badly. They'll even give him a couple of rushes this season over an amazing Gibbs and Montgomery. Yeah, I just don't like the Bears' offense, really, especially it's still unproven yet. I know you got your boy Ben Johnson there.
You didn't like it in the years past.
I've never liked their offense.
I think you're going to see, it's been terrible, but I think you're going to see a different animal in the years to come.
Gotcha. I mean, their best offense is what, Devin Hester on special teams over the last 15 years?
Yeah, basically. I mean, Fields was there. He would put up fantasy points.
True.
He was there, mostly with his legs.
He would. All right.
Okay, next
else
one.
To say on these two? Yep, light it up.
We're gonna go RB. We're talking Caleb Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers rookie running back, ADP 80, versus Isaiah Pacheco, Chiefs running back, ADP 84. Ding, ding, ding. Caleb Johnson, I think, just has more upside. I think he has a case to be the workhorse here. I think Jaylen Warren will still be very involved and is a good PPR player. But I think, in Najee Harris's rookie year, I think he finished as a top 5 running back. I'm not going to project that here, but at this ADP, I could see a lot of upside, especially in the second half of the season. They're a physical team. He's a physical running back. I like the fit. They didn't get anybody else. So I don't think Jaylen Warren's got what it takes to be a true 3-down guy, and especially consistently in the NFL. So I like this ADP here for Caleb Johnson.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take things off with Isaiah Pacheco. He had an injury-ridden year last year, which then they brought in Kareem Hunt, which, absorbed a lot of carries. Last year, Pacheco
is still there.
He is, and that's that's a point to you on that one. But Pacheco was never fully healthy last year, even after his injury, which is why I think Hunt still got a lot of carries. Let's face facts: Pacheco is way more athletic and way more of a punishing runner than Kareem Hunt. I just don't think he was fully healthy, so that was a big factor in it. And let's not forget, Pacheco in 2023 had an amazing year. He finished RB 15th. He's 26 years old, only in his fourth season, and he's on one of the best teams in the NFL, which means they're moving the ball a lot. And at the back end of games, they can kind of push the clock and just run the ball out, which is more carries to this cat. If he has a fully healthy year, I like him over your boy over there in Caleb Johnson. And also, he has way more catching potential than your boy Caleb Johnson does because that guy ain't catching the ball. Pacheco in 2023, his last fully healthy year, 44 catches and 44 on 49 targets.
Okay, that's fair. I'll take the rookie upside. 26 in running back terms is a significant amount compared to a young rookie.
Okay. He's going to have to take that ball from Jaylen Warren over there.
Okay. All right. Is that enough for your fight segment?
That's it. It's enough of the fighting for now.
Okay.
Fans, if you care, if you think someone won that debate either way for each player, let us know your thoughts in there. Comment, whatever works.
Or comment who you like better.
Yeah, absolutely. We're breaking into the NFL news. I'm going to lead us off here. Real quick, couple of things. Tyrann Mathieu retired. See you later, Tater. Great career for that guy. He was a beast on the defensive side of the ball. Will Levis, season-ending shoulder injury. Not a huge financial implication, but, the Titans' backup quarterback behind Cam Ward is now done for the year. But let's get into something a little spicier. The Bengals. The Bengals have some contract work to do this offseason, and they need to do it in a hurry. Okay, Trey Hendrickson, the best player on that defense by far. Not even close. I'm pretty sure he is the reigning sack leader in the NFL last year. They gave him an offer that was, quote-unquote, atrociously low. So I don't know why you're doing your best defensive player like that when you have no one good on that defense. So he's down there in Florida right now hanging out, just chilling, having some margaritas instead of being at training camp because they won't pay the man. So they absolutely need to pay him. And then the other Bengals defensive player is their first-round pick in Shamir Stewart, where he is a defensive end. He's a first-round pick. I mean, these two guys, they need him on the field if they're going to make the playoffs last year. This one was interesting because it's not about the total money. It's about the guaranteed money. Apparently, the owner of the Cincinnati put in their clause or in his clause that says, if you do something that's not within the NFL conduct or it's detrimental to football, we're not going to pay you your guaranteed money. We're going to void that out. And I have one quote here that is quite interesting from owner Mike Brown of Cincinnati. Quote unquote, if he is sitting in jail, I don't think I ought to be paying him. And it's not like Shamir's, a jail-ridden guy or anything like that, not doing him any dirty. It's just interesting the comparison that this owner's saying about his new player that he drafted in the first round. Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, it's a little spicy. Now, Joe Mixon, he's on the pup, non-injured. A little older running back, no surprise there. According to John Lynch, here's an update on the Divas in San Fran. Ayuk has no time frame to return, and a bit concerning since we're getting closer to the season. And then there is a little bit of traction on getting Ricky P off the pup earlier, so some good news there. And then over in Tampa Bay, Godwin is not participating in team activities as he continues to focus on his rehab. Again, why I'm a little lower on him, just some unknowns there. And that's what I got for news.
All righty, folks. We are breaking out of the news, and we are breaking into our team overview of the Arizona Cardinals. We are staying in the NFC West this week. Just to refresh everyone, the Cardinals were 8-9 last season, so not terrible, and third in the NFC West. I'd like to point out they were great at home, 6-3, and terrible away, 2-6. Last year, their total offense ranked 11th overall, 358 yards per game, a total of 42 touchdowns. Rushing rank, phenomenal, 7th overall, 144 rushing yards per game and 18 rushing TDs. Having Kyler Murray running around out there and helping that rushing attack is definitely why they're in the top 10. Passing rank, not as pretty, some question marks there last year, 18th overall, 214 yards per game and 21 passing touchdowns. Kyle, Vegas odds win-loss this season for the Cardinals is at 8.5. Where are you leaning on that over-under win total?
After we've dug into this team a little bit more, I think there's the 9. I would go 9 wins. I feel like I'm slightly a half game above this on the last few teams we've done. They have a very favorable strength of schedule. I think it's the 4th or 5th easiest in the NFL. They've had a major overhaul on the defense side of the ball, a lot of additions on the defensive line. And then some consistency with the offense and their playmakers. And hopefully some of those guys, take a jump this year in the passing game is what I would be looking for.
Okay. I'm going to echo that. I'm also going to say over 8.5 here at 9 as well, especially after you and I were watching some of those highlights this morning. Some of
Should we
their
have
big
not done
plays they
that?
made, we're going to be a little more biased on this one because, some of those big plays were just fantastic. Great catches by Harrison, great catches by McBride, some beautiful balls by Kyler Murray. It impressed a bit, impressed more than I remembered. So that was good to see. But why don't you take us off into the meat and potatoes of what we got going on?
All right, let's get into the fantasy football players. Start us off, Kyler Murray, projected as quarterback 9. He finished as QB 10 last year. Current ADP, 87th overall. And I believe we just mocked last week, and I believe I got him in the 10th round.
You
So
did.
that's a value. 10 team, 10th round.
Yeah, I think that was
So
QB less though. That's why you got him. It was a QB less in that mock draft. If you haven't seen it, folks, check that out. But I'll let you keep rolling here.
yeah, I mean, if you're able to get him in the 10th round, like all day, like I would take that all day. Top 10 quarterback last year, and I think he's got the
Yeah,
potential to be even better this year. Last year he threw for 3,800 yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 picks, ran for another 572 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, you're getting rush points here. Like it's not always pretty with his arm, but he'll get you some points on the ground. So for fantasy, it certainly helps. This year they got him projected out passing about the exact same across the board. They have
yeah,
him with 9 different points, 9 more points than last year with ESPN's projections right now. So same territory.
yep.
He's going to get another year. This will be a year two with Marvin Harrison Jr., who I really like. He's got his safety blanket, stud tight end Trey McBride. Good running backs, good offensive line. I like it all the way around at ADP.
Yeah, well said. I'll echo that a little bit here. Murray is one of the few rushing quarterbacks that has solid weapons around him that you can get at a good value. So for fantasy purposes, I love that. I think his 87th ADP overall, if you can get him a couple spots before that, you're not too upset about it. Last year, he had 17 and a half fantasy points per game, 297 total. What I love most about last year, because something I've hated Kyler for, was his completion percentage. Last year was a career high. He completed 69% of his passes. So I love to see that he's still improving. He's getting away from Call of Duty, hopefully a little bit more now that he's getting older and getting a little bit more into the playbook and film. And with that said, McBride and Marvin Harrison are only going to get a year better. And that's what I love most about this setup. I think he does better than last year, especially if he's healthy. And with those two cats getting another year better, just love that for him. The one thing I will say, last year was the first year he's played a full season since 2020. So he's a smaller guy, he's a shorter guy, and he puts his body at risk. He is one that is riskier for injury. Okay, that's the only dark thing I'm going to say about him today, since he improved about his accuracy, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, I mean, healthy season, he's a lock as a top 10 quarterback just with his legs and with the guys around him easily, with a little bit of
Yeah,
upside, I think. I think in my
yeah.
rankings, I think I have him at QB 7 or 8 right now, so I'm even slightly higher than consensus.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as we were watching film on him the past couple of days, there's a couple times where he kind of ran around the edge during a pass play, and it's like, okay, he's going to run out of bounds here. Nope, he turned the corner, ran up the sidelines, and ran for a 40 or 50-yard touchdown, and guys couldn't touch him. So he has that breakaway speed and that quickness that you just love to see, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it breakaway speed. I would call it quickness and
For a
elusiveness.
quarterback, for a
And
quarterback, yeah,
all right,
no one was catching him.
he's got some surprising legs for a short quarterback. I will say that, but it's more quick and
Yeah.
elusive, is what I saw.
Okay.
All right, are you
Keep
as
it
high on
going.
him as I am?
Kyler.
Yes.
I am actually. I hate
Okay.
to agree with you on that, and I know you're going to be headhunting for him late in our draft, so it's going to be a little bit of
Absolutely.
a race there. Round 9
All
coming
right.
around the
So,
corner.
so
Who's
you
going to
don't
take
think
him
I'll get him
first?
at in the 10th round ever again?
Probably not. No, I mean definitely not. I mean no. I mean when you talk about our two QB league, that's where it's going to get
Oh yeah,
spicy
that's way
because
different.
where's the
That's way
value?
different.
I know, of
Yeah.
course, but nonetheless, no. I'm gonna, I just want to put that in your head. Maybe I'm not drafting him at all. You never know.
All right, that's fair enough. Okay, enough on him. Marvin Harrison Jr. projected
Yep.
Diva 20, finished last year as wide receiver 26, current ADP 39th overall. His rookie campaign, he had 116 targets, 62 catches, 885 yards, and 8 touchdowns. This year, ESPN projections are 139 targets, 83 grabs, 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, I think this ADP is, I would love it to be lower because I would scoop him as much as possible. But this is
Yeah.
a good stack. If you can stack these guys, very doable in most leagues. I like that. I could see a
Yeah.
really big jump here in his year 2, and that's pretty much where they're projecting him for yards,
Yep.
targets, and grabs. However, they're down a touchdown. I mean, I could see him getting 10 touchdowns. So, you'll have to project that out however you see fit. I could see also McBride getting a handsome amount as well, and or the rush between Kyler and the running backs. But overall, I like it. This is a guy I'm pretty high on, about at ADP.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of things here with this guy. First off, his rookie performance was a letdown. He was drafted so high up in drafts last year, and that was one of the reasons why I don't
That
love
rookie
drafting
hype.
rookies because you don't know how, and with his last name. I mean, let's face facts, that helps a bit. But
Hmm.
you never know how a rookie can ball in the NFL. And the ugliest fact about this cat for last year was a 54% catch rate. That is not good. 116 targets and 62 catches. That's really, really bad. Now, on the flip side of that, this dude is an elite talent. He could easily be a top 5 or top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Some of the catches he was making and how difficult they were, running full speed, tiptoeing his toes on the sideline, was just beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, but they have to be more consistent within that. Seven in standard league, 7.9 fantasy points per game, a total of 134 points in standard league. Not what you wanted out of him. I think he does take a huge leap forward this year, and I think now he's priced much more affordably because anyone that had him last year, they got a lot of salt on their tongue and they're a little pissed off about it. So that rules out some people because of how bad that performance was. This year he's priced a lot better, and I mean he is an elite talent, and his deep ball threat is amazing. He can easily run past DBs and safeties, so a lot of fun with him watching this guy. If you can get him around his ADP, I think it's a wonderful pick. Kyle, my question for you is, does he have an any world top 10 or top 12 wide receiver potential?
I think he has it absolutely. Um, I just don't know if I mean I'm not gonna knock Kyler per se, but I mean if you had like a Joe Burrow throwing him the ball, I would be a little higher on his receiving game there. But I like Kyler especially because he's going to get you points with his legs in fantasy, right?
Yep.
But do I think he's as
Yep.
good at throwing the ball and getting his receivers open as some other guys? No, absolutely not. But this receiver is talented enough, and I think he's going to just be a gradual guy who gets better and better every year. He's a true player in NFL, and I mean, very talented. So I think you draft him when you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch some of his highlights, guys. It is just amazing the things he did out there, and he's priced so much more affordably than last year. I think that's a good one to get on the roster. Alrighty, anything else on that, Cat?
Nope, we like him at ADP. We're expecting a year
Mm,
2 bump, pretty in line with ESPN's projections.
yeah,
Um, but I'd
yeah.
like to get him on a few rosters, and this is a stack I would actually really like to have this year. So if I can
Little
get that,
DP for you over there, huh?
this is like a budget stack. You think of like a elite stack of Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. This is a budget DP stack in my opinion this year.
It is. I like that. I like that phrasing. You might have to coin that. That's pretty good. All right, we're moving on, folks.
Michael Wilson,
Wide
projected
receiver
wide
number
receiver
two.
69, finished as wide receiver 66, current ADP 261st. Last year, 550 yards, 4 touchdowns, projected pretty much a similar, amount this year. I'm not going to be drafting him pretty much on any format. However, I do think he's a really good wide receiver too for the offense. He's a bigger guy. He can certainly make plays and be involved in the offense. But for fantasy purposes, I'm out on him. Your take?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue is last year for fantasy wise, he didn't step up into his year 2 campaign as much as anyone would have liked to see, which gives us some worry. However, this dude is tall as heck. I think he's at least 6'3" or 6'4", and he's fast as heck, and he's got some good hands. So his raw talent is there. My biggest concern with him isn't even about him as much as it is McBride and Harrison are each going to get easily 150 targets this year. So
Yeah.
there's not a ton of targets left over for this guy. And, the wide receiver two on this team is McBride, or he's actually probably the one, if you will. So that hinders him a little bit. But he is an athletic specimen. I do like him. I just don't see enough target share headed his way. So probably not drafting him. But if he gets pushed way down there at the end of the draft, and heaven forbid something happens to McBride or Marvin, he could be a good little sleeper in some leagues. So no disrespect to this cat. He's got some abilities, and we'll see how we can do.
Yeah, that's fair. And then third on the depth chart, Greg Dortch.
Yep.
You're not doing anything
No,
with him in fantasy.
no sir.
Trey McBride. Well, we caught ourselves a stud tight end on this episode. Wow.
Finally.
This guy, I've been so bullish on this guy for the last few years and was able to get him at a great price, and it's been phenomenal.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that is no longer the case. He finished as tight
You
end
got to pay to
2.
play now.
He finished as tight end 3. He's currently being projected as tight end 2. His ADP is 29th overall. So it goes Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and then Kittle. Those are the top 3 currently, and I believe that is the elite tier of tight ends this year.
Yes, sir.
So how I like to play that is if I can get one of those guys, usually at outside their ADP, that's when I like to snag one.
Absolutely. I'm going to take it away here. Guys, I am so excited. The last multiple episodes, we've had to say, if you want to punt at tight end, look at this guy at the end of the round. Not with McBride. He used to get a couple snaps at tight end, so I love this position. This guy led his team in targets, receivers, receptions, and yards last year, so he's getting a ton of volume. He's by far, with the coverage that they're going to have on him, one of the best guys you can get where he is a problem for defenses. He had a whopping 28% of the target share over the last year. And even better, there's a little nugget here as well. He is guaranteed. That's right. You're getting a guarantee from me to progress with touchdowns. Last year, he only had 2 touchdowns and finished as wide receiver 3. So he is at least going to get 6 to 8 or more. He is a phenomenal tight end. When you factor in 150 or more targets, plus he's going to progress with touchdowns, you could easily draft him as the number 1 tight end if you wanted. I know most people won't with Brock Powers over there, but you absolutely could. And Kyler loves throwing to him as a little security blanket. Last year in standard, 8.7 points per game. This guy is, Kyle, let me ask you this. Is there any world where you would draft him number 1 tight end over Brock Powers?
I would say if you don't like or believe in Geno Smith.
It's a good angle.
That would be the only case.
I
think I'd rather, obviously for fantasy because of the rushing, but passing, if you like Kyler. And this guy, I love what you said about the touchdown progression here. Only 2 touchdowns last year on almost 150 targets.
That's insane.
So that's not going to be the case next year. This is one of the best, strongest candidates for touchdown progression this year. And he could finish. I think that would be your case to draft him as the first tight end off the board. Or if, for whatever reason, tight ends are being a little left for dead in your draft and they're all outside their ADP, then you just take a flyer on whatever one you feel like, And if that's where I could see it going. What about you? Is there a world where you take him tight end 1?
Yeah, Arizona has a better offense and a better team overall. So the fact offense, I like that over Oakland. Oakland could struggle, or the Raiders, sorry, not Oakland anymore, but they could struggle out there. But enough bragging about McBride. Kyle, are you still with us over there?
Still here.
Okay, love that.
All right, let's get into the RBs. James Conner.
Yep.
Why don't you? You're a little higher on James Conner than I am. Why don't you take it away at him?
Yes, I am. He is projected RB 16th. He finished his RB 10. Current ADP is 52 overall. Last year, he had 236 carries, over 1,000 yards rushing, and 8 touchdowns. Let me tell you why I love this cat. He runs like a bull. He is tough to bring down. He's not the fastest guy at running back position, but he will run people over, and he plays with tenacity and aggression. And I love to see that in my running backs because they're going to give you everything they got. And another reason why I'm super high on him, in November of 2024, last year, they signed him for another 2 years, and they paid him $19 million. You're only doing that if he's going to be your main guy because you're not paying another running back that kind of money, and you can't for that matter. So they believe in him for at least another 2 years. He is 30 years old, so that is a factor. But I love this cat. He is a great value. ADP 52 overall. He is an RB2. especially if he's healthy. So you can easily get him in the 5th round, give or take, and that's a great value for a running back that's going to get a lot of volume. And I'm not worried about the guy behind him and Trey Benson as much as other people are so souped up about him.
Okay. I think he's a solid running back too. I'm not going to deny that. And he's one of those guys where he just continuously produces each year. He's got a good offensive line, a team that wants to run the ball, and a good strength of schedule. So I do see a lot in his favor. Obviously, I don't like his age, and he has had some injuries all over, although
Yes,
most recently he's been pretty healthy, actually.
yeah,
So I like to see that. Trey Benson is a very talented running back behind him, and DeMarco is going to get some third down work, I believe. So I think those guys will still be involved. And last year, Trey Benson had 60 rushes, 291 yards, a touchdown, and they're basically projecting him for 120 rushes this year, 530 yards. But they're still projecting James Conner to have more touches and more yards. So they're projecting this offense to overall be a lot better across the board.
yeah, absolutely. And this is another one where for me, it's not a 1-2 punch. It is James Conner is the main guy. He is the main back. I'm going to give you a double-edged sword real quick, though. Over the last 8 seasons, he's never played every single game in the NFL. I think last year he missed 1 game. However, on the flip side of him never playing a full season, over the last 4 years, he's had at least 220 touches, over 1,000 yards, and over 8 touchdowns in 4 consecutive seasons. Doing that while battling through injury and not playing the full season, that's phenomenal. I mean, it just speaks to this guy's aggression and tenacity to want to play football. And that's just someone I want on my team and I can get behind.
Yeah, if you draft him in the 5th round and he finished as a top 10 running back and misses 1 week, like that's best case,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
maybe there's a room for some additional touchdowns and he goes a little higher, but I think that's his best case. And I think that's certainly a doable thing for him this year.
Okay. Love it. I
We just
started
touched on
real
Trey
hot.
Benson. I think
Yep.
he's very talented. He's more attractive to me in Dynasty. Outside of that, I still do think it's James Conner's show. The other running backs will be involved in the office, but it'll be way too hard for any kind of fantasy production from them. So to
Yeah.
me, this is still James Conner's show. Um, and I don't know, you got some stuff you want to say here about Trey Benson?
Yeah, I mean, just want to highlight the fact that they paid Connor for 2 more years. He's going to be with this team for 2 more years, which means this guy's going to have a backseat role. So he's more of an insurance play, right? He's more so there
Yeah.
where, heaven forbid, Connor goes down or you want a little handcuff for him. That's fair enough. But you also got to remember Kyler Murray's taking 500 rush yards per year, too. So there's not enough to go around for 2 running backs within this offense. The best thing I can say about Trey Benson is on the 60 or so carries last year, he had 4.6 yards per carry, I believe, which is a very nice number. However, when he's on the field, I'm sure defenses are thinking they're not going to run the ball, so there might be something with that. Either way, not
J
someone I want. He's insurance if you want it.
James Conner also had 4.6 yards. So
No kidding.
both the
Darn.
running backs in this offense, I think that speaks to the offensive line coordinators and
It
the
sure does.
game plan.
Yep.
Is how I look at that. I honestly though, this is a case where if not wanting this to happen, but if anything happens to James Conner, I think Trey Benson is also a top 10 running back in this offense. So I think he could be a very valuable piece if anything were to happen. That's how I look at it.
Okay. Good deal.
All right. I'm going to touch on the coaching. Arizona Cardinals coaching staff led by head coach Jonathan Gannon, who was hired in 2023, previously served as a defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe he's got a Super Bowl with those guys, so a very defensive-minded guy.
Mhm.
Also, Drew Petzing is the offensive coordinator in his 3rd season. Those guys came over at the same time, and their strategy is let's lean on the run, let's run. That's going to be our strong offensive line. We're going to utilize play action, and then we're going to do a little bit of RPO with Kyler Murray, and then we're going to spread it out occasionally as well in the passing game. So that's kind of been their strategy. They do target the tight end a lot, and I don't know if that's as designed or just Kyler being Kyler and a
Or just Trey
shorter
McBride
shorter
being there,
running back
period.
sneaking around back there. He's one of those guys where he's going to do a little bit of Houdini stuff in the backfield, right? And he'll extend plays. That's
He
just kind of how
does.
he is. Last
Yep.
year, Trey McBride, I think we said, had 150 targets. So that to me, that kind of those two things go together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun watching Houdini back there. Kyler Murray, when he is running around having D linemen chase him, it is fun.
Yeah. So I like
With
it,
that
and I think
said,
it speaks to the strength of the roster. You know,
yeah, yeah,
I think the defense last year was the worst part of the team, and they've done a major overhaul there. Why
yes, they
don't you
have.
Why don't you talk about this offensive line?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you already heard it. 4.6 yards per carry. That's a great number. And that is largely due to this offensive line. The offensive line before 2024 was preseason ranked at 30, and they finished right around 8. So that is a Houdini experience in itself because they jumped up the rankings. They way overproved, and they did phenomenal. Okay. And that all starts with their left tackle and Paris Johnson, who is one of the best left tackles in the league. He is wonderful. Jonah Williams, when he was healthy, he was also fantastic. The biggest weak link on this offensive line is the right guard position, okay? And that is a battle this year between Isaiah Adams and Royce Newman. This line left to right, Paris Johnson, Evan Brown, Rajolte Fraholt, Isaiah Adams, and Jonah Williams at the right tackle. This offensive line is about the same. It is rock solid. I like this offensive line to stay within the top 10, which is just giving that much more value to James Conner and some of these weapons on the outside and Kyler Murray. Well done. I rarely see an offensive line improve that much over the year, and they
That's
did, and they
very
have a lot of
impressive.
similar pieces. So well done, Big and Burley's up front for Arizona. You guys deserve a nice cold one with your performance last year. Keep it rolling.
Okay. I'm just going to touch on a few free agency moves. Like I said, there's been a lot of turnover on the defense side of the ball. They've done a lot
Yep.
for their defensive line. They just scooped up, was it Sweat from Philadelphia as well?
Yep.
Defensive end. They,
Phenomenal.
they also
Yep.
got defensive tackle. They drafted heavily there. Most notably on the offense side of the ball, Trey McBride got paid. He got a 4-year extension. Then receivers, Greg Dortch signed a deal, and Zay Jones also. He's right behind Marvin Harrison Jr. there. So some depth at receiver has just been resigned, and that's really it on the offense of the ball. And like we said, consistency with Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., then Michael Wilson, and the running backs. So we like to see that consistency for another year here with the playmakers. And once you get in the draft picks.
Yes, sir. Draft pick time. We like to highlight the offensive players, and this team knew that their defense was pretty terrible and their offense was pretty solid. So they went defense heavy as heck. Defensive tackle first overall, cornerback, defensive end, linebacker, cornerback, one guard in the 6th round, and then a safety in the 7th round. So of their 7 picks, 6 of them were defensive focused. I think that was a good move on their part because that is really what they need to shore up. But yeah, I'm not going to dive too deep into him just for fantasy purposes. And that guard in the 6th round, we'll see if he can help and fill in that right guard spot. Maybe, like we said, that was the weak point there. But they addressed what they needed to address between the free agency and getting that guy from Philly, and then just drafting a crap load of defensive players to help shore up that defensive end of things.
Yeah, I'm like weirdly excited to see how this defense looks because it's going to be drastically different than what we saw.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. What's your final fantasy thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals for 2025?
Yeah, man, I like this team. I want to have at least one player on this team just so I can watch Kyler Murray run around. I was normally lower on Kyler in years past. However, with what they've done and their weapons, I like this team a lot. I think, getting a piece of this offense is going to be fun, and we're going to see what happens out here. But keep it rolling, Arizona. And next week, fellas and ladies, we are headed to the NFC North, to the Northwoods of Minnesota, and we're covering the Vikings. So that'll be a fun one. They got a new quarterback over there. I'm excited to talk about those cats when we get there.
All right, bring your drinking horns. Thanks for tuning in this week to the Fans Football Channel. We'll catch you guys in the next one.